We have to talk about AI again. Here we are in November of 2025, watching another massive round of layoffs, all in the name of embracing AI. And we have to talk about how that impacts your approach to your career if you're trying to move from the professional level up to the executive ranks, or if you're trying to move upwards inside of the executive ranks. Welcome into the channel. My name is Tom. I'm the founder of Vertical Motion, where we help good people become great leaders. And that means we work with authentic, empathetic, and audacious people who want to become executives or entrepreneurs. If that sounds like you, there's a link in the description to learn more. But today what we're talking about specifically is how AI is eating the world. We all know that. We also know that AI is a bubble. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what we really want to talk about is, what do you do given your goal to move up in your career or move even out of the corporate ranks in your career? What do you do about AI and how it's constantly disrupting everything that's going on? We're watching AI devour corporate roles, and not just roles that you would think make sense for AI to take over, like order takers or people who do a lot of deep analytic research in just collecting a bunch of data, or tasks that can be, outsourced to software solutions as opposed to humans, right? There's lots of things like that. We can see AI eating those roles, but now what we're seeing is AI start to collapse the middle management ranks of large corporations. And the idea here that's being floated by people like Andy Jassy, who's the CEO of Amazon, is that if you use AI appropriately, you don't need to have so much of a hierarchical organization as a lot of these organizations have built over the years. That's great, except for the fact that that means that they're going to lay off 14,000 people at Amazon, and that's going to put 14,000 people out of work. Now, the good news for Amazon, of course, is that they announced this layoff, 14,000 people laid off, and that brings the grand total for the year now up to close to 1 million layoffs announced by American corporations this year. Well, those 1 million layoffs and the 14,000 just recently announced by Amazon have all been in the name of operational efficiency, and they're using AI as the slap it on patch that says, like, yeah, we'll just AI our way out of this absolute gutting of our internal hierarchy, right? Well, Wall Street loves it. Wall Street rewarded Amazon with a 13% boost in market cap, which means that when they laid off 14,000 people, their market cap went up $350 billion in one day. So whatever the cost of losing those people probably won't add up to $350 billion. So think about that, right? This is empowering corporations to go even further, to cut deeper. It used to be that when you would lay off a lot of people, your stock would tank 10, 15, 20% because, there must be trouble in that company. Now we lay off people and we slap that AI bandage on it and say, like, oh yeah, we're streamlining, we're efficiency, we can do things better now. Even though we have seen what's happened to companies like Duolingo that have embraced AI and cut their entire staff. Well, if you don't know what happened to Duolingo, they replaced all of their content creators for Duolingo, which is this app that teaches you how to speak a different language. They replaced all of their content creators with AI slop, and they absolutely got decimated, not just by their customer base, but also on Wall Street for that. And their stock is down something like 70% or something ridiculous, right? And they're backpedaling, saying, well, here we go with Amazon doing the same thing. And this time, the Wall Street folks are rewarding Amazon for this. So it's a little frustrating to be one of those people, those 14,000 people, to be laid off, knowing that everyone else who continues to work at that organization is going to get stock that's at a higher value. And so it's just frustrating. But anyway, this just means that it's going to be harder for people to get recognized and noticed in their career for mid-management opportunities, or to move out of mid-management into executive opportunities. When you collapse an organization the size of Amazon, that means that there's a lot of people who have been working the system for years are now going to lose everything that they've put into that system. And I get it, business is business, and you got to do things to keep things lean and clean and all of that good stuff, right? It's just indicative of almost what's like a cancer, in that we're saying AI can fix all of these problems. We just slap it on there and say, I'm replacing people with AI. And Watch what happens to their operational efficiency when they cut these 14,000 professionals and executives out of their mid-management ranks. Let's see how they're doing a year from now. And let's just talk about the AI bubble for a second. Here we are, November 2025, and we have heard over and over and over, AI is in a bubble, AI is in a bubble. Everybody knows it's in a bubble. What does that mean? It means that it's overinflated, it's overhyped. And for those of you who are old enough to remember the year 2000, we had the dot-com boom in the late 90s that led to the dot-com bust in 2000. It was April of 2000 when the stock market finally said, okay, we're getting out of Fog Dog and, toys.com and all these just completely overvalued, overhyped IPO plays for tech companies because they had a .com in the name of the business. Well, here we are, 25 years later, watching the exact same thing happen, and everybody knows what's going to happen. It's just a matter of timing the bubble pop. That's what's happening right now. And so there's all this speculation. But if you look at the value that's actually being created and generated for AI, it's by other AI companies, right? And so AI companies are buying energy capacity from energy companies like Georgia Power is about to light up 3 new nuclear reactors, and now they want to dig coal again. and so like all of that is because of AI, the promise of AI, right? Well, the promise of AI is this circular thing that's like eating itself, right? Because OpenAI does a deal with Amazon, does a deal with NVIDIA, does a deal with Apple, does a deal with Meta, right? And around we go in this circle until everyone realizes like, hey, wait a minute. Nobody's actually using this crap. Worse, I think you're seeing people start to get frustrated with AI in the way we use AI, right? Like go out on LinkedIn or any of the social media platforms really, and it's just 50% of what you see is AI slop. It's just garbage content. And I will be honest that I actually used AI to help me write some articles or create some content. I'll never do that again. I'll use AI to help with the ideas for script or the research for a script, but I'm never going to use AI again because I see people write AI slop and it makes me think they're disingenuous and lazy. And it makes me not want to engage with that content. And in fact, I usually block people that I see using AI content. Now, if you're somebody who's worried about being laid off because of AI, well, what do you do about that? And I'll tell you that, yeah, being laid off is traumatizing, but it actually can also be an opportunity for you to take a moment and assess where you are in your life and your career. And so I want to talk through a few things that will help you be ready for AI when it comes for your role. First and foremost, you absolutely need to recognize that the world is very transactional right now. We now have a government that's extremely transactional in nature, not just with the US and citizens, but also with other countries, other nations. Our relationships are very transactional now. And that is what the corporate world is taking on for itself as well. They're becoming extremely transactional, meaning that if they need an executive, they will go hire an executive. They're not going to necessarily be predisposed to grow executives inside of corporations anymore. You're going to go find solutions to problems the easiest way that they can, and they're not necessarily focusing on their culture nearly as much as we did maybe 20 years ago. You just take a look at Google. Google was kind of this like bubble of happy, safety, kindness, all of that. Doesn't feel that way anymore, does it? So you have to recognize that you are a free agent, whether you want to be or not. The reality is that at-will arrangement between you and your employer, and that means that unless you have a contract that dictates what happens when you are laid off or terminated not for cause, right? Generally speaking, at will means they can let you go for any reason at any time other than a couple protected reasons. Like they can't say we're letting you go because you're old. They can't say we're letting you go because insert discrimination here. They can let you go because they think you're old or insert discrimination. They can't say it. And if you can't prove it in a court of law, there's nothing you can do about it. And taking companies to court for things like that is very expensive, time consuming. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the courts are pretty busy right now. So it could take months or years to get resolution for that, during which time are you doing something else? Are you working, right? So recognize that the reality is that this is a transactional environment in which we operate today. And so building time and tenure in organizations, that was the play for a long time. It may not necessarily be the right play now. And now listen, your mileage may vary. You may be in an amazing organization that you have spent 16 years working for, and you have 5 executive champions who are pulling you up through the ranks, and God bless you. That's amazing if you have that. Not a lot of people have that right now. And if you don't have someone pulling you up inside of an organization, if you feel like you are surrounded by sharks and predators, you probably are. And you probably need to do something about that. So just first and foremost, recognize that we work in a transactional environment now. Now, the second thing that I want you to do is I want you to take control of your career. I want you to think of yourself as if you are the CEO of You Inc. Now, what does that mean? That means that you are in charge of a business that you run. And the way that your business generates revenue is through your W-2 income, right? The check that you get every 2 weeks. So think of yourself as You Inc., right? So I'm Tom Inc. as an example, right? I make money from the job that I have here at Vertical Motion, right? And so I get a paycheck in my case, every month. But you probably get a paycheck every 2 weeks if you work for a corporation. And so that is your revenue. Now, if 100% of all of your revenue comes from one source that can lay you off at a moment's notice, it kind of seems risky, doesn't it? And the reality is that most of us spend all of our time inside of the operations side of our business, right? Which is you doing your job for that organization, right? Like if you think of yourself as a contractor, you show up and you do the work that's expected of you. And that's kind of the operations or delivery side of the business. What about finance? What about having a plan for if and when that stream of income stops? We don't think about it. We tend to just put our head in the sand. And if they do lay us off, well, hopefully we get a severance and hopefully I can spin up my LinkedIn real fast and find something, right? Or just go search on a job board for something. Well, that seems like a very passive and almost reactionary way to approach your career. Think about marketing. Think about sales. Marketing is the act of letting people know that you have something that is useful. Are you marketing yourself? Are you promoting who you are, what you're capable of? Are you putting yourself out there in a way that people can see you so that they know that you are a solution to their problems as well? And then sales, which is, in this case, interviewing. Are you ready and prepared to interview at the executive level for your next role? And so marketing, sales, finance, those are all in addition to operations that a CEO would be thinking about. And so this mindset shift is important for 2 reasons. One, it helps you understand that you have an obligation and responsibility to do more than just your job if you are in charge of your career and you are responsible for earning the income for yourself or your family. But the second thing it does is it helps you shift your mindset from doer to executive. And when you are the CEO of You Inc., when you take stock of yourself and your career as an executive would of their business, it helps you understand the mindset of an executive and the things that you have to do to be successful in those kinds of roles. So become the CEO of You Inc. Focused not just on operations, but also on finance, marketing, sales, and other things that you need to do to accomplish in order to be a successful business. Because I can tell you, nothing is more frustrating than getting hit up by someone I haven't talked to in 8 years, and the first thing they say is, "I need a job. What do you got?" Listen, if you're somebody who is desperate and scared and you're just spamming stuff out on LinkedIn, like, "I need a job, I need a job," it's not a good look. It doesn't help. Some people will take pity on you, but that's not the kind of relationship you want to build with people. So 1, remember that we live in a very transactional economy now, and 2, become the CEO of You Inc. Now, the third thing that you can do is you can build an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, or just a small business, and become a consultant in between your full-time roles. Now, I'm somebody who fully believes the reality of the future is, again, very transactional, and that means that sometimes we will work in a W-2 role, and sometimes we might work in a 1099 or contractor or consultant role. And if you have powerful professional skills and you have some executive skills, you can be a consultant in between. And so think of it this way. Sometimes it's easier and faster to start earning income again once you've been laid off or once you've been let go. It's easier and faster to earn income through a consulting arrangement than it is through finding your next job. Some of these job interview cycles are now taking sometimes 8, 9, and 10 rounds of interviews. It could take, I've heard of people taking 9 months in an interview process. It's ridiculous. And so if you're going to be waiting around and you run out of money in the meantime, and you're just sitting around getting more and more depressed and anxious the whole time, it's not very valuable. Instead, you should be using that time to basically run your consulting business in between full-time roles. We have a whole system that we teach our clients how to do that, but go figure out how to build your own LLC. And as soon as you're laid off, hang your shingle as a consultant and a potential employee. Be both. And quite honestly, marketing yourself online for both is basically the same thing. Finally, the last thing that I would suggest that you do is now is the time for you right now, not once you get laid off, but if you're thinking it's possible it could happen to you, and you probably should be thinking that way, now is the time for you to invest in yourself. This is the time to invest in some executive skills, invest in your ability to build your network, invest in your ability to do different jobs, and take some time to think about what you actually really want to do with your life and your career. You should be considering having an executive coach or a career coach, or even better, have an executive career coach, someone who can help you become an executive and also help you build your executive career, right? Because those are two different things. And that's what we do at Vertical Motion. We teach you executive skills, and we also teach you the skills you need in order to go get an executive role. And if you can invest in those two areas, then that's going to help you grow very quickly in your career at a time where everyone else feels like they're moving backwards or stuck. Think of coaching as a life hack, because basically think of it this way. Coaching is the opportunity to buy time, right? And so you learn, like in my program, we say that we teach you 6 years of executive skills in 6 months. Well, you're buying 5.5 years of time when you purchase a coaching program like that. What does that time give you? That means that in 6 months, you're operating at the level you would be 6 years from now. And that means you're probably making more money sooner in your career. And that could lead to, in some cases, we've seen people that's led to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in 1 or 2 cases, $1 million plus in added value, because they sped up the process. And so now is the time to get an unfair advantage over everybody else who's coming into the market looking for these roles the same time you will be as well. Also, be developing skills that AI cannot replace. Leadership, empathy, judgment, all of these skills that executives have that are actually important, not the mundane, I know how to write a TPS report stuff. Like, it's really more about critical decision making and critical thinking and strategic planning, right? Build those skills, because those are the ones that AI cannot replace and should not replace. And I don't think corporations will let an AI be the CEO anytime soon. I could be wrong, right? I hope this video doesn't age like milk, but I think quite honestly, like, as long as you have the ability to think like a human, be empathetic, be intelligent, be optimistic, be creative, right? Those are the skills that are actually going to save you from this AI situation that we find ourselves in. So be investing in yourself. So those are the 3 things that I would recommend for you right now. If you are worried about being laid off, if you're worried about how AI is coming for the middle management ranks and even the lower ends of the executive ranks now, if that's something that's really on your mind, well, here are 3 things you can do, right? In summary, we have recognized that you are in a very transactional economy and approach this economy as such, right? You're a free agent. 2, take control of your career and recognize that you are the CEO of You Inc. And what does that mean for not just operations, but finance, marketing, and sales? 3, consider building an LLC so that you can consult in between full-time roles. And finally, go and invest in the skills that will actually help you grow in your career. And those are executive skills, as I've talked about. There is an executive career accelerator program that we run that can help you do that. Also invest in the skills that AI cannot replace. And again, those are primarily the skills that we're focusing on teaching inside of our program. So if you want to learn more about that, I actually have a master class that I offer for free from time to time that talks about the 3 myths that hold most professionals back from the executive level. And I talk about these things in that master class. And there's a link for that in the description, and I'll put it here below on the screen as well. It's wholeexecutive.com/free masterclass. And so you'll see that URL here. You'll see it in the description. It's a absolutely free masterclass that teaches you some pretty impactful things. You get a sense of what it's like to work with me as a coach and as an instructor, and you will learn some things. You will absolutely take away some things that will help you move forward in your career. So hopefully I'll see you in one of these masterclasses, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.